Good morning. Welcome to In the Air, On the Air. I'm Kate Phelan, Airport Commissioner, and I'm with my co-host this morning, Chris Willenborg, Airport Manager. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Kate.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So we've got an exciting show this morning. We have two guests that'll be coming on later. But first, we do want to give our listeners and our viewers an update on the airport.
No, sounds good. And happy 2023 to everyone out there in the community. Here at Westfield Barnes Regional Airport, we're off to a fantastic start for 2023. So we've been very busy in the month of January. As some of you may know, we had our public hearing on our noise compatibility program update. This is part of our noise abatement program here at the airport and to assist the community in incompatible land uses that surround the airport, primarily regarding military air traffic. So we had our public hearing last week. We had approximately 60 people participate, whether it was in person or virtually. And this is in 3 areas on mitigation measures. It looks at noise abatement measures. So an example of that is looking at the departure path or arrival route of military aircraft to the airfield. We also look at land use measures. So this is where we get into soundproofing of homes and residents in that capacity. And then the last piece is the program management measure, where one of the recommendations in the study is that we re-engage our noise advisory committee in the community. So that's something for the public to look forward to, and will be an avenue moving forward on addressing noise concerns in the community.
So this was a public hearing. Were they allowed to ask questions?
They were. It was a very formal, it was really 2 parts. There was a part where we presented on the document. We took questions and answers during that, and then we transitioned into the formal public hearing. We had a court reporter there, so individuals in the public could come up to the court reporter, state their comment or question, and it was recorded there. And also through virtual, people could ask their questions and comment, and the court reporter took those. You can still submit public comments through February 15th.
Okay.
The information is on our website under Westfield Barnes Regional Airport, which is under cityofwestfield.org. So the public still has an opportunity to comment on the document up through February 15th.
So were you happy with the turnout and also the discussions that took place?
Yes, the consultant team and I were very happy with the turnout. There was good question and answer back and forth. Certainly the concerns that some of the residents close to the airport raised is something that we were aware of, but also reinforced in the document that when we find out about which new fighter we're going to have, that will trigger a new noise exposure map process. We can't update that map till after the military completes their environmental and a record of decision is done by the military. Then we can update our noise exposure map.
I was just going to ask you, because we're still waiting for that determination of which aircraft, but I knew it was going to change the map.
Yes.
But until that decision is made, there's nothing they can do. And,
Yep.
and will the consultant team change that, or the FAA? Who controls the design of that map?
Sure. So our on-call noise consultant team, which is Jones Payne Group, they will be responsible for updating that noise exposure map. It has to meet the FAA guidelines. So there's a software simulation that utilizes the noise metrics for whichever fighter will be selected. And they'll actually go through that process in accordance with FAA guidelines. That's very important because that map will allow us then to mitigate in homes with federal and state funding. If we don't follow the FAA process on the noise exposure map, we're not eligible for federal and state funding.
Right. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but just so people understand though, the mitigation actually includes changes to their homes.
It depends where they are in the contour. It basically, traditionally the program is replacing windows, doors, possibly HVAC systems. The closer you are to the airport, if you're in certain decibel ranges, that may trigger different insulation or new drywall to be added. But
drywall.
It just depends on where you are in the noise contour.
Well, that's great. Sounds like it was a great meeting.
Yes.
And so you have other information.
Sure. Yep. So as I said, January was a busy month. So we are full steam ahead in planning for the Westfield International Air Show. It is scheduled for May 13th and 14th, which is Mother's Day weekend. It's being hosted by the 104th Fighter Wing here at Westwood Barnes Regional Airport. But we're very excited about this. They recently announced a couple of the jet teams that will be performing at the air show. Unfortunately, the Air Force Thunderbirds and the Navy Blue Angels are not able to participate this year. However, we have the F-35 demo team from the Air Force, and we have the Navy F-18 demo team, as well as our local F-15 unit will be flying.
Nice.
And we have some other performers, large aircraft, flyover C-5, C-17s, and a whole host of World War II aircraft, including a B-25, I believe a P-51, and a C-47. So it'll be an exciting weekend. And we're working collaboratively with the city, the airport, 104th Fighter Wing, in preparing for that air show. Also, in January, I had an opportunity to help promote the airport at the National Business Aviation Association Schedulers and Dispatchers Conference. It was in Nashville, Tennessee, which was a great city. I enjoyed that city for a couple days I was down there. But this conference is focused on business aviation, where the schedulers and dispatchers of flight departments, charter operators attend. And 65% of the attendees are females, and we had our booth there, and it was a great show. They had a record number of attendees and exhibitors, and we had a lot of interest in Westfield, so that was fantastic. Also, a big thing that we've been working on this month and coming up in the next couple months is we recently got the 90% design drawings for our Taxiway Bravo South reconstruction project. Probably heard us talk about this at our last show late last year, but we have a major taxiway reconstruction project happening here. We're planning to go out to bid in March, April timeframe. We have to submit our grant applications to the FAA, MassDOT, and Department of Defense. But this project is estimated to be about an $18 million project. Wow. So this will be the largest public works project on the civilian side here at the airport, based on the records we have. So it's a major project. We're hoping that we'll get some good bids in. So all those contractors out there, sharpen your pencils when that comes out for bidding. But we're very excited for this project. And it will help improve the safety of the airport. It's going to address some safety issues we have right now out on the airfield. Also environmentally, it's going to help us because we're going to have the stormwater systems that a lot of the newer pavements on the airfield have now, that the current taxiway was built in the 70s. And doesn't have those stormwater systems in place. So that's what's going on here with us up at Westwood Barnes Regional Airport.
It's never a dull moment up at the airport, Chris. You do an amazing job, managing this. And of course, I know a lot about these projects too because of sitting on the commission. So we're going to take a brief break so that we can have our guests join us. So you're watching In the Air, On the Air, and we'll be right back.
Wrong surface operations are a serious and continuing issue at airports throughout the national airspace system. The majority of these incidents involve general aviation aircraft and pilots. The types of incidents fall into several main categories. This video is focused on one such category: approaching or landing at the wrong airport. Even with today's highly accurate and readily available technology, pilots are still misidentifying their airport of intended landing, often going so far as making an approach to or actually landing at an airport other than their planned destination. The problem occurs with pilots operating under both visual and instrument flight rules. In some cases, the cause of the confusion is apparent. Large metropolitan areas can have several airports, all in close proximity. These airports can have similar, if not identical, runway configurations, even if they are drastically different in size. Airports that are located along the instrument final approach course have been mistaken for the airport that the approach is being conducted to, even if they are located several miles away from the correct runway. Complex airspace, frequency congestion, distractions, and lack of familiarity with the area can lead a pilot to lose situational awareness and mistakenly identify the wrong airport. It can happen to you. The consequences of this mistake can vary. One can imagine the embarrassment of pulling up to the fuel pumps or FBO only to discover that you're at the wrong airport. However, some consequences can be very serious. Pilots may be surprised by a shorter than expected runway. Or worse, they could conflict or possibly collide with aircraft operating at the airport, in the pattern, or on the ground. How can pilots avoid this costly and potentially catastrophic error? First, during pre-flight planning, either IFR or VFR, check the sectional chart for airports in close proximity. Pay close attention to runway configurations as they may be similar in appearance. Note geographical features such as the airport's relationship to the city or town and expected visual perspective with nearby rivers, highways, and charted reporting points. Second, check airport diagrams. Be familiar with your destination airport's layout and relationship to other ground features like terminals, hangars, and other runways and taxiways, and their orientation to your final approach course. Understand the available lighting such as visual glide slope indicators, approach light systems, and runway lighting. Third, use the most precise navigational aids available. Do use GPS, localizers, and VOR radials to positively identify your airport. Do not make assumptions based purely on what you see outside. Rather, use all your available tools to identify the correct airport. Maintain extra vigilance when identifying your destination airport at night and when landing at an airport with others in close proximity. Confirm that the geographical features you've identified in your pre-flight planning match your visual picture as you approach your intended airport. And finally, do not report the airport in sight or decide that you're seeing the correct airport until you are 100% sure that it is your airport. If you're talking to ATC and you're unsure, ask. An extra transmission is well worth avoiding the embarrassment or accident that could occur. These are just a few tips that can help pilots avoid making this costly and dangerous mistake. For more information about this and other runway safety topics, visit these resources. Avoiding mistakes like approaching or landing at the wrong airport makes flying more efficient, fun, and above all, safe. It's always better to know before you go.
Welcome back to In the Air, On the Air. We're up here at Westfield Barnes Regional Airport. I'm Kate Phelan, Airport Commissioner, and my co-host Chris Willenborg. As you can see, we have our two guests joining us this morning. First, I'd like to introduce Rika Ballard, President of Aero Design and founder of Fly Lugu, as well as Treasurer of Friends of Barnes Airport. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Kate. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. Nice to have you here. And also we have with us Alex Colby, and he's the president of Friends of Barnes Airport. Alex, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Kate. How are you doing this morning?
And we're doing great.
Good.
So we're so happy to have you on the show. So we're going to talk a little bit about Friends of Barnes Airport.
Yep.
Chris, you want to have Alex explain a little bit about his background first?
Sure. No, sounds good. Alex, Enrique, thank you very much for joining us today. So Alex, maybe you could talk a little bit about how you got interested in aviation. I know you've been born, raised, live here in Westfield, but talk about that passion of aviation.
Sure.
And Alex is also in the process of building 3 hangars, new hangars here at the airport, pretty significant investment at the facility that will bring maybe about 10 to 12 new based aircraft here at the airport. So pretty excited about that, but I'll turn over to you to talk a little bit about your path here.
Okay. Well, I started in aviation when I was just a little infant. My father and grandfather had planes based here. And I've always remembered going up as a young child, doing sightseeing trips, going to breakfasts, seeing family. So aviation was always a big thing in our lives. Going to air shows here, year after year. And I recently just got my pilot's license. It took me a while. So in 2019, my wife said, you know what, you've been talking about it for way too long, just go do it.
Congratulations.
So I came here and got my private pilot, got my instrument, and I'm currently working with Filugo to get my commercial certificate as well.
Wow.
So we try to at least fly once or twice a week, just to stay proficient, and hey, it's fun. It's fun to go flying. So that's kind of where we've, and also I don't know if you guys remember, but the breakfast over here was fantastic back in the day. So we enjoyed breakfast over there a lot.
I have a question about when you were a young toddler, an infant. You said you flew with your parents.
My first birthday was my first flight.
So how do they? I'm just curious about infants in an air, or 1-year-old. Do they have to be strapped in? Do they have? They don't make car seats for airplanes,
Yeah,
do they?
they do. So
Okay.
I don't know how it was back in the.
You don't remember.
I don't remember that, but
Right,
There's
yeah.
probably no.
I'm sure my
safety
parents just threw
sense.
me in the back. Yeah. But now, our son's 2 years old. Our aircraft has the little hooks in the back seat, so the car seat just clicks right in. It's just like a
Okay,
car.
Nice. Okay. good
Because
to
you don't want them crawling around.
No, of course not. No, good to know.
We tried
Thank
that
you for
once, didn't
answering
work
that, 'cause
out.
I thought it was very interesting. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
nice.
So we bring our son up a couple times a month, and he absolutely loves it.
Oh, that's
It just
great.
lulls him to sleep, which is great.
Puts him to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
So go ahead, keep going about your background.
So after I received my private pilot and my instrument, I really started to realize that I knew I liked aviation, but now after that I'm like I'm in love with this. It's a fantastic industry. The people, everything about it is amazing. We sold our manufacturing company in 2020, and I started looking at different avenues. One being real estate, which has always been fun, just building buildings, redesigning buildings, remodeling, things of that nature. So we decided, hey, we'll build some hangars here. There's a great need for hangar space here at the field, or any field really. And then also I got into aircraft leasing. I have a few aircraft with Filugo, some with some other flight schools, and some manufacturers as well. So that's another facet of my business.
Nice.
And it's good. I get to fly a whole bunch of different planes.
So I know that we first met really when I became an airport commissioner.
Yep.
And we were having tenant meetings, so actually a marketing working group.
Yes.
And that's how we segued into really the beginning of Friends of Barnes Airport.
Correct. Yep.
So I don't know if the viewers, can they see our lovely apparel and the is it showing up on the screen there? So you can see that we have apparel available. But Alex, I want you to, you're the president of the organization. We're so grateful that you took this role on. And I know it's been a journey.
It has been, yeah. Probably about a year now to get
Right.
to get to this
Yeah.
point. Yep. We started with tenant working group. Excuse me. We would get a bunch of tenants together on the field and say, hey, what do we want for the airport? How do we want to market this? How do we raise funds for miscellaneous expenses that come up? So we had probably 6-7 meetings, and that's where the Friends of Barnes Airport nonprofit group kind of formed. The airport, being a city entity, couldn't raise funds for themselves, so we had to form a third-party organization where we raise the funds and we can make sure all the proceeds go directly back to the airport without getting convoluted down at City Hall. Here, some goes here, some goes here. So we feel like we have a great group of board members. All of them are involved here at the airport almost on a daily basis. So we're going to be doing a lot of events in the next within the next year, because this is the centennial of the airport. We'll be doing flower drops, food truck. We have a golf tournament tentatively scheduled for the summer. We have a Run the Runway event where we're going to do a 5K on the runway, which will be really fun. Very unique. A lot of people don't get to do that. And a dinner dance down at the 104th. We're working with them to open up one of their main hangars, and they'll have some F-15s, and the mayor will be involved and heads of state. So that'd be a really good fundraising event for us.
So I know, Frederica, you're the treasurer of the organization.
Yes.
And we're very close to being able to process purchases. People will be
Yes.
able to purchase the apparel.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So we are in the process of releasing a website, friendsofbarnesairport.com, in which case you could buy any of the shirts, hats. There'll be some mugs coming online as well. And then you'll also be able to come to the airport here at 110 Airport Road, right in the main lobby, and you'll be able to purchase the apparel there as well, and also I believe in Chris's office upstairs at the airport. So just come on into the airport, and there'll be a kiosk here on the first floor, and then Chris's office on the second floor to purchase the apparel so that you could donate and give back to the airport community.
So I also understand that your husband has graciously volunteered his time to create the website.
Yes,
Right. And I
yes.
know you've mentioned the website, but do you want to just say the name of it again so people
Sure.
so they can purchase apparel now on the website? Or
It's
soon?
probably by next week, I would say.
It'll be
or
live
in the-
soon.
Yeah, we're just-
definitely this month.
Yeah,
in the month
just
of
some
February. Yeah.
website design. There's always something that needs to be tweaked. So
Oh,
we want to get it
sure,
perfect
sure.
before we unleash it to the
Not
world.
you, Alex. Perfect. Right?
Yeah, so that's friendsofbarnesairport.com is the name of our website. So there will be a link as well if you go to the city of Westfield, the main site for the airport. You'll be able to link over to our website. We also have a social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, and that's again Friends of Barnes Airport.
Yes,
Thank you.
I know. I've been to a couple of your meetings, just as an ex officio member, and we're so excited about the events this year for the airport, our 100th anniversary. So we just can't thank you enough for taking on this, because I know it has not been easy. I know it's been a lot of man hours, and so we're so appreciative. And I think looking forward, we're hoping that there will be like a membership level where people can actually become a friend.
Right.
And I know we'll be talking about that down the road
Yep.
as well.
Those membership levels will be on our website,
Yep.
and that'd be a yearly donation, a fixed
Yes, right.
donation. And we're working on, based on which level you purchased, some free giveaways there as well.
More like a sponsorship opportunity.
Correct, yeah.
So I was actually thinking about this morning about naming the different levels. I'm sure you
Yep.
guys will have your own ideas, and we can. I was thinking, one could be a runway, one could be, I was thinking of like a terminal membership. Terminal.
Right.
Oh, maybe that's not a good one.
Right. No, you're on the right track.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
We're actually the minimum base. So we'll start.
Or like-
the smaller membership is a smaller airplane,
Yeah, there
and
you
then
go,
we
right?
work up all the way to the big top dog. Which
I
is,
think that's great having something appropriate
Absolutely.
related to the aviation
Yeah, absolutely.
industry. Because we're excited about, we want to grow Barnes Airport. We have a beautiful airport here.
Sure.
And we hope we'll get them to come up here. Not just for the aviation, we have a great restaurant, and of course, the military portion too. So, Chris, you have any questions?
No, I mean, I'd just like to add, from the airport management side, the passion that Alex and Rika have and the amount of time they've volunteered for this. As you mentioned earlier, as part of your role as an airport commissioner, you have the working marketing group, and what came out of those meetings was forming this nonprofit organization to be able to do certain events here at the airport and build the camaraderie here at the facility, but also welcoming the community here at the airport on a more regular basis with certain events. So, sincerely really appreciate all your efforts and the other board members to date. And there is a lot of exciting events scheduled that Alex ran through. It is the 100th anniversary of the airport. And this airport, and I may have mentioned this in a previous show, but this airport is unique in that it was established by business leaders from Holyoke and Westfield in 1923. And most airports across the country were started as a result of World War II. They were military airfields, and they were transferred from the military to local municipalities, counties, states, etc. But we were started by business leaders. They had the foresight about the importance economically as well as transportation needs for Western Massachusetts back then. In our military, the 104th Fighter Wing became a tenant in 1947. Wow. So they've had a long presence here, and it's a fantastic partnership, and certainly we're looking forward to working with the team.
So Chris, with your extensive knowledge of airports, do you know offhand, like with our Friends group being created, Friends of Barnes Airport, is this unique for airports? Do you know of any other airports doing this?
Actually, it's not unique.
Okay.
There are quite a few. I know. We're hoping to be
like trendsetters.
the tip of the spear, No, actually, the more active airports around the state, New England, around the country, typically do have nonprofit groups. So, for example, there's a group at Fitchburg Airport, Fitchburg Pilots Association. Down at Plymouth Airport, an airport we visited last year to look at some of the events that they have there. They have a nonprofit group there. So those airports that have tenants that are willing to step up, you see that.
But the Pilots Association, I think, is it more pilot focused?
No, they do, pilots are involved, it's just the name. They do activities that we're looking at. So they host an events, fly-ins, things like that. But it's pretty well rounded. They try to help the airport management team there.
Okay.
So it's kind of similar. I think one of the things that is exciting for us is I think the board that the Friends of Barnes Airport have together right now, they're very passionate. And I think, there's going to be a lot of exciting activities, not only in 2023, but, moving on. Right. So.
And I think too, the with the passion of the board, and of course with the support of the commission, the management team here, we really want to get the community up here.
Yeah, yep.
And I think we're definitely focused on
Yes.
that, the group is, and I think
Yes.
that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a best kept secret up here.
Yeah, and all of us have been, Rika especially, coming here, in the early 90s, there would be 50 planes on the ramp, parking lot's full.
Really?
Yeah.
You go to the flight school, there's 15, 20 students. So general aviation kind of took a dive, 9/11 happened, the economy, but it's been on a steady uptick, and we're hoping to get on the bottom and then ride that wave all the way to the top with more community involvement. Let people know we're here. With 9/11, unfortunately, we had a lot of security that we had to put in place. All airports did, and it I personally think it pushed people away because it didn't give that warm, welcoming, hey, come out on the ramp and look at planes kind of vibe. So, but we're here to raise awareness for the airport, let people know we're here, we're open, we're friendly. We want to have fun, we want to educate people on aviation.
And I think a great thing too, to Alex's point, the industry as a whole is on a trend upward.
Sure.
Aircraft sales are up in all sectors, whether it's general aviation, business aviation, commercial aviation, rotary wing aircraft. So we're definitely trending in the right direction. Our operations have been up since 2018, about 20%. So everything is trending in the right direction.
Great.
So we're excited about that.
So we have to break for a commercial, but I just want to end with, so we will be, I believe we'll be able to have our Friends of Barnes Airport at the air show.
Correct.
in
Yep.
May.
We'll have a booth there, and we'll have all of our merchandise available for purchase at the air show this year.
And we'll also be having our merchandise available at the Westfield Technical Academy Car Club, the motor club that they have, Motor Car Club. So we will be able to do that as well. So again, thank you, Alex and Frederica, for being here for Friends of Barnes Airport, for helping us to get the word out. We really appreciate
Thank you
your
for
time.
having us. I appreciate it.
You're watching In the Air, On the Air. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Wrong surface operations are a serious and continuing issue at airports throughout the national airspace system. The majority of these incidents involve general aviation aircraft and pilots. The types of incidents fall into several main categories. This video is focused on one such category: wrong surface landings at airports with parallel runways with staggered thresholds. Parallel runways with staggered thresholds are a leading causal factor that increases the risk of pilots landing on the wrong surface. This situation has occurred even after the pilot has correctly read back the runway they have been cleared to land on. While many of these errors are caught and corrected, it happens often enough to warrant special attention. The airport configuration itself often contributes to this problem, usually in the case of parallel runways with staggered thresholds or where one runway is significantly larger than the other. Another configuration issue concerns parallel full-length taxiways that are sometimes mistaken for runways. This mistake occurs for many reasons. These are just a few. At airports with vastly different sized runways, transient pilots may proceed to the first runway they see, which may be the wrong one. Along the same lines, staggered thresholds present the same challenge. The closer runway is assumed to be the runway cleared. Locally based pilots may experience expectation bias when cleared to land on a runway other than the one they have come to expect. Pilots may become confused if air traffic control changes runway assignment after initial clearance. Runways that are spaced closely together and/or bounded by full-length parallel taxiways present another possible confusion factor. Pavement material can also lead to subconscious misidentification of the landing surface. Finally, pilot distraction, task overload, complacency, and many other human factors can lead the pilot to make this serious mistake. It can happen to you. Lining up for or actually landing on the wrong surface can lead to serious consequences. Collisions with aircraft in position or starting takeoff roll have occurred. Approaching the wrong runway can put the pilot in conflict with other aircraft operating in the pattern, primarily on final approach. Being out of position in the pattern can also cause collisions with faster traffic approaching from behind. In addition to disrupting the traffic flow, the wrong runway may not be suitable for your aircraft. It could be too short. The following are some suggested practices that pilots can use to avoid landing on the wrong surface. Part of pre-flight planning should be a review of the destination airport layout and runway configuration. Utilizing the airport diagram or third-party airport depiction, familiarize yourself with all the possible landing clearances you might receive. Note the dimensions of all runways, paying particular attention if they have significant size differences. While en route and after receiving the airport information in the ATIS, determine if you will be landing on one of a set of parallel runways. If so, make note of the fact that you may be assigned either one. As a suggested practice during visual approaches, pilots should consider utilizing the localizer or GPS to back up their final course. Pilots should consider this only if they are trained on and proficient with the navigational equipment they are using. In all cases, pilots must ensure they have a clear and confirmed understanding of their assigned runway, that they do not let automation become a distraction, and that they always verify that the runway they see and are aligned with is the one they are cleared for. If ATC changes your runway after initial clearance, visually acquire the new runway. Read back the new landing clearance, emphasizing the new runway designation. Visually acquire the thresholds of both runways. When close enough, verify the landing runway identification on the pavement and in your clearance. They should match. These are just a few tips that can help pilots avoid making this costly and dangerous mistake. For more information about this and other runway safety topics, visit these resources. Avoiding mistakes like wrong surface landings makes flying more efficient, fun, and above all, safe. It's always better to know before you go.
Welcome back to In the Air, on the Air. I'm sitting here with Frederica Ballard. We also call her Rika. So good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. So thank you. So I'm going to introduce her as she has many roles up here. First is president of Aero Design, and then also, just as important, is founder of Fly Lugu, the flight school. So,
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad you came on the show. We've been anxious to get our tenants on our TV show. So thank you for being here.
Sure.
So I want to ask you a question. I was thinking about, the show last night. When did you know that you wanted to learn to fly?
So I grew up in an aviation family. My father was a general aviation enthusiast, so we had airplanes growing up all the time. So we actually had the luxury of having a horse farm in our house, and so we had a grass strip and in our backyard.
Oh,
so he used to fly a very small airplane called an Aranca Champ out of our backyard, and so it was just something that I grew up with. And we also had airplanes here based at the airport. So I've been, like Alex, who spoke earlier, I've been flying since as long as I can remember.
Wow.
I flew here in the 80s, and I soloed here in 1986 rather. Don't want to make myself older than I am. And so I grew up flying and actually flew an airplane before I could drive a car legally.
Really?
Yes.
Now, so that had to have been a different flight school back in the day,
Oh,
correct?
yes. Oh, yeah, very, very much so.
I think we had a couple of flight schools.
So back then it was Northeast Aviation.
I don't remember them.
And then there was Karis Air was another
Air, yeah.
another big tenant back then.
I don't know if you know this, but I actually worked part-time at the flight school up here.
Oh, funny.
When I first moved here in 1977, I had a part-time job. I think it was 5-star.
Okay, that was here too. I kind of remember that.
Yes, and because I remember booking the students and then the pilots, their training, So, so I've actually been connected to the airport a long time. It was a long time ago, but I used to come up here on weekends and was a part-time job. So
Nice.
yeah. So once you so you got your pilot's license at 16?
17.
17, okay.
And then I took a break. I went through college and started a career in healthcare, and then I ended up raising kids, getting married, sending kids to college, and then I took a break from aviation for about 25 years.
Wow.
So pretty substantial, but I missed it. It was the one thing that I missed. I always was looking at the clouds, seeing what the conditions were. So when I paid my last tuition payment, I came to the airport and I said, okay, who's flying still, and how do I have to get current again? And there was a school here called Air One at that time, and
Yes.
the gentleman, Ken, who was the owner then, he ended up getting me through my currency and my licenses up to date. So I, in 2016, got back into flying, and then was able to retire out of my healthcare career and started the flight school in 2019.
So, so you're a women owner, a women-owned business.
I am.
Correct. Do you know how many women-owned flight schools there are by any chance?
So it's less than 1% in our country.
Yeah.
And so a little statistic is there's 6% of women are in aviation professionally. So we have 6% in our country that are female aviators, called aviatrixes. And
Interesting, okay.
yeah, and out of that, 2% have a commercial license,
Wow.
and 1% have a professional ATP, or airline transport license.
Nice.
So-
That's fascinating. Again, as usual, low percentages, but it's growing though. You think it's
It is.
growing? A trend is
So
changing?
we're a very gender neutral school, and we have at different points, because people matriculate through our program, we've had 50% women, 50% men.
Wow.
We have a lot of lady pilots that come through the school, get their ratings. They're on the professional career track, as a lot of us know there's a pilot shortage.
Yes. Yeah.
So we do matriculate people through our program, and they go on to regional carriers, regional airlines that we have a partnership with, and then get their time and then go on to become commercial pilots with the airlines. Yeah.
Now, when you say commercial, is it strictly passenger or can it be cargo too?
It can be cargo, and it can be, the
Like the
big
FedExes
Sure.
and UPSs of the world. Okay.
Yeah, another one's Wheels Up that we partner with.
Oh, I never heard of them. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're able to train them with commercially?
So we get them, like Alex was going through his, we can train through your commercial rating and also through, you get hours to get your advanced ratings, like your airline transport license, or you could get a certified flight instructor license. So it's all about building hours, similar to like a resident with becoming a doctor. So as they build hours and get more experience, they can apply to the companies to then go to the bigger aircraft, like a
Delta United? Or,
no, more like a Pilatus or like a turboprop or a twin engine aircraft.
So, so when are they allowed to fly a 747 for Delta when you finish your school? That's what I'm.
Not yet, not
Okay.
yet. So they have
More
to
training.
There's more training, and then when they do go to Delta, they could apply to Delta or a regional airline like Mesa or Breeze is one that's local.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they would go. That school would then, or that company would then take them to their base, and they would do about a month of pilot training. Okay. So that's how that works.
I think you mentioned, or did you mention the number of students you have right now?
We have 150 students and renters combined. So we operate 6 aircraft. We have 7 instructors.
Wow.
We're here 7 days a week.
7.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine trying to coordinate that, especially when you have to depend on the weather so much.
True.
Right.
True.
Is there a lot of rescheduling or
We try to limit that. We do have a simulator that is part of our purchase. When Alex is building hangars, as we talked about earlier, we have 2 of his hangars, and we have a simulator coming to that. So bad weather days, we have a full motion articulated simulator that'll be going into one of those hangars that we can dedicate for bad weather days.
Oh, that's great. So are you actually training are you still instructing?
I do. I instruct a more advanced students at this point, but I am the chief pilot for the school. So our instructors go through me before they get hired, and then we train in 3 phases. So I do what's called stage checks. So before a student moves on to the next phase of training, they fly with me. It's our way of just doing checks and balances, making sure the students are proficient, the instructors are sticking to the syllabus, and it's just a nice safety margin for us.
Okay. So if someone who's listening to the show, if they wanted to take lessons, can you walk us through the process? Sure. And then do you actually vet that person to make sure they're like serious about it? I mean, how do you really, is there a process or an application? How does that work?
So great question. So we're a Part 61 school. There's 2 types of FAA schools. A Part 61, which is what we are, where you could just walk in and take what we call a discovery flight. So that's an hour flight. It's very inexpensive. It's $130. And we teach you for about half an hour on the ground about the airplane, what the surfaces are, how an airplane flies, and then half an hour in the air to make sure you like it. So that's the first step. And then if you like being in the air and you're curious about what it takes to become a pilot, we pair you with one of our instructors based on your interest and schedule availability. And then you fly with an instructor, and we introduce you to our syllabus. So our syllabus is set up in 3 phases. So we have a first phase, which is a pre-solo phase, where we teach you how to take off, land, aerodynamics, introduction to weather, things like that. Then you solo, so you actually fly by yourself, kind of like a driving permit, where you drive by yourself in the car, you fly by yourself in the airplane. Then the second phase is we teach you how to navigate. So how do you go from here to, say, New Hampshire, just using ground references like a bridge or train tracks or different landmarks that you can see. So you navigate by, what's called dead reckoning. And then we back everything up just like a car with GPS. And so that's your second phase. And then the third phase is pulling it all together, learning how to do all of your maneuvers, safety maneuvers, emergency maneuvers, emergency operations, things like that. And then you get ready for a check ride. So much like getting your license, you sit with a FAA designated pilot examiner, and you go through an oral phase of a test, and then you demonstrate your skills. So there's 3 parts of getting your license, ultimately, once you've done your training. And that's a written exam that's put on by the FAA, 60 questions, takes about 2 hours. And then an oral phase that you do with a designated pilot examiner, about 2 hours. And then the demonstrating your skills phase, a practical phase, and that's also about 2 hours. So
So in that training, do they require anything by just instruments only?
There's 3 hours of instrument only work.
Okay.
And then after you get your private pilot's license, you can go ahead and get an instrument rating. So you learn how to fly in the clouds, fly in the bad weather, and that's an add-on rating to
Oh,
your
it is.
private
Okay.
pilots. Yep.
Yeah. I can't imagine just flying by instruments only. I know it happens all the time.
does.
Even when I've flown commercially, God bless them that they know what they're doing, because
Sure.
it kind of is scary that you can't really tell where you are.
Well, that's
especially
what the
going over
training,
ocean,
yeah,
you
and that's
know,
what the
right?
training's all about.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody wanted to get in touch with the school, Rika, how could they get a hold of you?
So we, like you did, you were a dispatcher back in the 70s, you said. So we have full-time dispatchers that answer our phone and handle our schedule for us, take care of the planes as well, and the students. They're here 7 days a week, 9 to 6. Our phone number is 833-359-5848. And then we also have a website, so Fly Lugu, and that's Lugu. So Lugu, a lot of people ask me, what is Lugu? So it just is an acronym that means look up, go up. And it just seems, that's just a simple thing that when my dad taught me how to fly, he said, if you look up, you're just gonna pull the plane up and you're gonna fly.
Nice.
But if you look down, you're gonna subconsciously push the plane down and you're gonna go down. So just, Lugu is a look up, go up acronym, but we have a website called flylugu.com. So you can get in touch with us
That
through the
way.
website.
Okay.
We also have Facebook, Instagram, and then of course we're here at the airport.
The airport, of course. So I noticed too that with your aircraft that you have, you're able to service them as well because of Aero Design, correct? So you want to just talk a little bit about that company?
Sure. So after I had the flight school for about a year, I realized my number one customer was Aero Design, which is a maintenance facility. So I have this desire to make sure that any plane that we train in, that I would bring my kids in, my kids could fly in, and it's very safe, and I feel very confident in how it's maintained.
Nice.
So the gentleman that owned Aero Design at that time was retiring. His name is Tom Trudeau. And so I was able to negotiate a deal with him, and I bought the facility.
Nice.
So that was in 2020. So it's pretty exciting though. The hangar itself is hangar number 1 here at the airport. So it was the first hangar ever built in 1924.
Wow.
So we've restored it. When I bought it in 2020, we restored it to be more of a modern maintenance facility. We computerized things. We bought a little bit more modern equipment. And so we maintain general aviation aircraft here on the field, as well as the flight school. We also maintain other flight schools in the area as well.
That's great.
Yeah, and then so we do small planes like a single engine plane, and small to medium sized twin engine planes is what we maintain there.
So and actually this would apply to both, I guess, both businesses, even though you bought Aero Design from Tom. His name's Tom,
Yep.
right? Yeah, okay. So what do you think was your biggest challenge that you had to either not overcome, but just were there any barriers, or was there anything that really was difficult in either starting the flight school, or what do you feel that was the most, like I said, challenging
Sure.
that you had to deal with?
Well, I started the flight school and then COVID happened.
COVID.
So
Are we ever going to not talk about
I know, I hate
COVID?
to talk about COVID, but
Right?
so I started this flight school. I signed my
Okay,
lease
yeah.
here at the
Okay,
the main terminal building in February. In March of 2019, we got on a lockdown, and the quarantine started happening. Luckily, with the nature of flight training, I was able to still train 9 students
Wow,
throughout that
okay.
time frame. We did a lot with Zoom, we did a lot with FaceTime, and I would meet the students outside, and being in with a healthcare background, I was able to get surgical grade, cleaners and things like that kept everything, the surfaces and of the aircraft and the office very sterile. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges. I guess I would talk a little bit about the second challenge is just that, being a female in a male-dominated industry
Yep.
is always something that you have to be at the top of your game all the time. And what I mean by that is just, be very clear that this is a commitment, and show that I'm here to stay. That
Right.
you know, that was kind
To
of
be taken
more-
seriously.
To be taken seriously.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely have created a very successful business, and we're so happy that you're a tenant here and that you decided to stay in Westfield or choose Westfield.
Right.
So thank you again for all you do for the industry of aviation and with your students, and of course, good luck with your maintenance facility as
Thank
well.
you.
So,
Thank you.
again, this is Frederica Ballard with Fly Lugu and Aero Design, and you're watching In the Air, On the Air, and thanks again, everyone, for being here. Have a great day. See you later.